Hey traders, Steven here with TradesPlan.com. It is Friday, February the 11th. We're going to look at the overall market and then we're going to look at the top performing ETFs of the week, see which ones are setting up. So let's start with the S&P 500 and then we'll go into the Nasdaq. So you're getting a little choppiness. Yesterday was a little disappointing because if you look at the S&P, you had a reversal day here, back above the 200-day moving average here, right? And then you had Wednesday's pop. It kind of looked like it was going to get out of here. And then it got slammed Thursday morning on some Fed inflation numbers. And this morning, the market's up a little bit. So, the choppiness continues. We're not out of the woods yet. So it can go either way. I think the interesting thing is that some of even though the risk on, what I call the risk on stocks, got hit really, pretty good yesterday, they still seem to be holding up for the week. So we'll look at that here in a second. So the Nasdaq, kind of same thing. Like it, even though you're about to get the death cross right here, which is never good, but it could come right out of here. But I think the market, it probably could do something like this. I just don't see it being, a straight up shot out of here. So just mentally prepare for anything. But it moved above the 20-day moving average, got slammed back below it. And the 20-day moving average is the pink line right here. I'll clear this. It moved back above the 20-day moving average on Wednesday, got hit on Thursday. We'll see which way. Like right now, we just don't know. It's just kind of, it popped a little bit, right? You got some of that buying off the bottom pressure. And I tend to think that we will still go up a little bit, but I'm prepared for either direction. So it's safe to say that I'm trading, but I'm not over trading at the moment. All right, so let's look at the top ETFs of the week. And what's interesting is Cannabis is really starting to, it hasn't done anything yet, but it's interesting. A lot, what I call kind of, the triple C's. You got the crypto, you got the cannabis, right? So crypto, cannabis, and clean energy. But anyways, which is also electric vehicle stocks. So you got all that kind of risk on that really peaked back in February and hasn't. I mean, this thing went from $30 to under $5. So, I mean, that's like an 80% slice, and not fun, right? If you were buying and holding through this. Lots of attempted rallies have failed. You can see it tried to move back above the 50-day right there, rolled back over. And, it's right at this 50-day moving average again. And we can look at this. So this is up 11% this week. So they could be setting up. MJ is kind of in a similar situation. The Cannabis Etf MJ is kind of right at the 50-day moving average. Still has some work to do. You got this long-term downtrend, and I mean, for this to really, really get me to push my chips, it needs to do a pop, a pullback, and then some kind of re-break to show me that this bottoming pattern, this whatever this is, from 35 to $9, to show me that this slide is over. But it is setting up pretty interestingly, and with something like this, if it really pops above, if you want to get an early, more aggressive entry, if it really pops above the 50-day moving average, Friday, Monday, you could always just enter it with a stop loss around $10 right here. That way, if it rolls back over, you just get out. It's $10.74 right now. So that's one way to play it. Or you can go the more conservative route, wait for a pop, a pullback, and a re-break. But I am intrigued a little bit by cannabis. I'm not gonna lie, because Bitcoin has also had a pretty good week. The Bitcoin Trust, it was up. So far, it's up almost 11% for the week. It popped really, really big for a few days. Got rejected at the 50-day moving average, which is not unrealistic. So with something like this, I would not chase it now. I would see if it pulls back a little bit and then does this re-break, right? And then you kind of get that re-break. So that's what I would wait on crypto at this point. You could let it pull back, but you could get a continuation. So if this is going to truly make a move, it's going to pull back and it's going to re-break. So again, you have a lot of these more aggressive industries like cannabis and crypto that have parabolic tendencies, but I think the more conservative route would just be wait for that pullback and re-break. Uranium, you can see more aggressive play. To me, this got rejected at the 5,200-day moving average crossover. I need it. I'm not getting in right here. Same thing. Like once you pick a point on a chart, like let's say it pops, then you want to pick a point on a chart and say, okay, for this to continue in the direction I want it to, it needs to move back above that level. And I think given the choppy nature of the market, right, kind of the indecision, we're about to get a death cross in the Nasdaq, you definitely probably want to consider take the more conservative route to entries. And if you don't, just take smaller position sizes. But with uranium, you can see there's another uranium ETF. You know, it's kind of interesting because this Peru ETF popped up on the scanner, and you got Peru, and then you got Chile that's also in the top 10. So even though this ETF kind of doesn't very look good at all, it's still had a pretty good week and it's had a pretty good month. You know, Peru has had a pretty good week and a pretty good month. You know, it's breaking out, although with this one, I think this could be a little stretched. But, you know, I'll go to the Brazil chart, and this was an ETF I was looking at a few weeks ago that once it started to break out right here, I said it was a buy, and then when it was extended, I said, hey, wait for a pullback, and then it pulled back again. So you have broad participation. Let's just put it that way. And I like it when there's broad participation. There's not just, a nice breakout of a downtrend in Brazil. There is, leadership in Peru and some of these other Latin American countries. I wonder what the ILF looks like. You got the ILF, which is the Latin America ETF that, broke out of a pretty steep 31% downtrend, broke out, pulled back, tested the trend line, and then continued higher. So with some of these ETFs, I'd probably more focus on Brazil, just because I believe that Brazil, like the EWZS, was leading the breakout, and you want to buy the leader. So this, to me, looks pretty good. Probably with a stop right under here, kind of a tight stop. You don't want to give it too much room. If you want to be a little, you can always buy on a pullback and then put a stop under the 50-day moving average. But this is looking good. It might pause for a minute because it had a nice move off the bottom. It pulled back. It could pause for a little bit. And this probably won't hold up if the market doesn't hold up. So that's kind of something we have to keep in mind as well. But this is definitely something that should be on your watch list, because in challenging markets or even sideways markets, we want to say, okay, is there anything that is up? Is there anything that's leading the market right now? And to be honest with you, Brazil and some of these Latin American ETFs, they keep popping up, right? One week or another. So this is 3 weeks in a row. The previous 2 weeks, it was this ETF. And now it's Peru and Chile that are popping up in the top 10. And you have the cannabis ETFs for a couple, have like 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Let's just look at this one. Has moved quite a bit off the bottom. The chart still looks really, really bad. So it's just worth paying attention to. So let me kind of recap what I think. MJ, you can take the conservative route, and if it moves higher above the 50-day moving average, you can put a stop loss at $10. The more aggressive route would be that, or you can just wait for the pop, the pullback, and the re-break, which, might be the better route to go. Either way is fine, but you just have to understand you're taking more risk if you're buying it early, right? If this happens right here, that's a true trend confirmation. Brazil looks good. It might pause for a little bit. Peru, I would wait on a pullback. Uranium, I would wait on the re-break, right? I would wait on this to happen because it got rejected once. You want to make sure it punches through. So there's opportunities out there, I believe, if the market is willing to hold up.